My name's Ben Morgan. I work for UKTI, UK Trade and Investment, in the e-exporting program. And I've got a great presentation to share with you today, just to tell you a bit more about what we do and what hopefully we can offer you as a fashion business. So without further ado, so I'll just talk a bit more about the e-exporting program. So it's a government-led initiative. It's funded by the UK government, but it's all about working with B2C, business-to-consumer companies, and helping them to export more, and specifically focusing on exporting more online through digital channels. And that's our real focus. It's only been going about 4 or 5 months, but already we've had a great deal of traction across industry with different marketplaces, and hopefully you'll see some of the agreements we put in place to really try and turbocharge what the UK does in terms of exporting online. In terms of my presentation here, I'm going to cover four main areas. I'll just give a bit more of a background and introduction to the e-exporting program, what it is and what it could do for you. I'm just going to share a little bit of research from Google. Google's one of our industry partners, and they produced some interesting research recently, which really brings out a few of the fashion industry numbers which are relevant here. I'll talk about some of the marketplace opportunities we've got live at the moment. So these are countries where you can start exporting to, where we've done agreements with these marketplaces, very powerful players in their own region, to try and make it easy for UK companies to start exporting. And then I'll talk about our future pipeline. As I said, we haven't been going for very long, but we've got a big pipeline of opportunities which hopefully you might want to capitalize on. So, launching into it then, what actually is the exporting program? Well, there's 5 main components that I'd like to just go through. So, the mission is pretty simple. We want UK companies to export more. We want them to export more online. And that's really what the push is. That's the aim. So how do we actually help people do that? A big part of that is actual people, is digital trade advisors. And we are undergoing a big program of hiring lots of trade advisors who are going to be based nationwide, to really provide industry-level insight and advice on how companies can optimize what they sell through digital channels. So talking about e-marketplaces, but also talking about other subjects like search, like SEO, like pay-per-click, and other key facets of e-commerce. Secondly, are commercial agreements with e-marketplaces. So e-marketplaces, you've got your Amazons and your eBays, and you've got a big, we've got over kind of 300, 400 e-marketplaces around the world that we know about, and we've got active discussions with about 50, the biggest ones, the ones we feel most relevant to UK industry, and it's those agreements and better than market rate terms that we've been able to negotiate that we feel are of benefit to UK companies, in particular fashion companies. The third part of it is UK campaigns. So that's our presence at industry events like Pure Today, like Spring Fair last week, and other different industries like food and drink and the like. And also tapping into our partner organizations like Google, like HSBC, like Barclays, and like the BRC, and what they do from their kind of comms and their the way that they can help bring these opportunities to light and surface them to fashion companies. Fourthly is our overseas campaigns. So we do a lot in terms of trade missions. So for example, we've got a great festival trade mission to China coming up in March, the Middle East after that, and we are very active in terms of overseas campaigns and also overseas industry events. And then finally, the e-expertise bank. So this is industry helping industry. So this is us. We've reached out to 25 key kind of industry leaders, and they've helped us grow a bank of over 100 companies who cover the full spectrum of e-commerce, from intellectual property, from logistics, to kind of digital advertising, digital media agencies, and the full range. And so if a company such as yourself does want to start exporting, then we've got the full kind of list of service providers who can help you do that. Not only can we just point them to you, we've already made agreements with them so that they will help work with you on beneficial terms, and they will know about the program and what it's trying to do. So those are the key components of the program. Any questions at this stage? Please just shout out questions if you do have any. More than happy to answer any. No? Great. So that's basically what the e-exporting program is. I'm the program manager on it. And then I'm going to get a bit more into about the actual things that you can take advantage of. But before I get to that, I've just got a bit of research that was done recently. So Google is one of our key strategic partners, and they share a lot of information with us in trying to help companies point to opportunities that exist overseas. So they can see, you know, if companies are searching for your product in France or China or Africa, but you may not know about it. So they are doing a lot of work. 2015 is actually Google's year of focusing on exports. That's one of their key focuses of this year. So I guess the reason I put this slide up is to show that actually, in terms of e-commerce, there's 6 countries which make up over half of the total e-commerce which is done in the whole world, and the UK is right up there at the forefront of that. So we are coming from a position of strength. We are already a very sophisticated online country and ahead of many other countries. And you can kind of break it down into 3 main categories. We've got the pure play, like your Amazons and your ASOS. And that's where we're doing a lot of our work in terms of building relationships with those e-marketplaces to make it easier and cheaper for UK companies to sell on those marketplaces, and it's the one that's relevant to them. You know, not every company wants to list on Amazon. Some may not want to list on a more specific, fashion-specific site, which with better adjacencies to their own brand. So, you know, people will talk about Amazon or Alibaba, and they get huge traffic, but actually, depending on your business, there will be a marketplace that will be right for you and is a great way to enter a new market cheaply, and is a great way to find new demand or tap into new demand for your product. So that's where we're doing focusing a lot of our attention. In terms of the multi-channel retailers, you've got the big ones there, and we are working with them on bigger strategic plays into countries like China, where they're working with big marketplaces like Tmall, part of the Alibaba group. But it's more in the kind of medium-sized business and smaller business, where as an advisory agency for the government, we can have a bigger impact. So we do work with the biggest names on the high street and in fashion, including the kind of vertically integrated brands like Burberry. But it's really in the mid-sized and smaller businesses where we really have a big impact, because the knowledge and perhaps the resources are not quite as there as they are in the very large companies. So I mentioned earlier that we're coming from a position of strength in terms of where the UK is, and you can see there. This slide talks about what we already do in terms of exporting and importing, and you can see that the UK has the largest trade surplus already of £1.2 billion out of all those countries, and those are the 6 biggest e-commerce countries in the world. So not only do we have the biggest, trade surplus here, but that trade surplus is driven by the people in this event. It's the fashion industry, which has a huge kind of pull and gravitas outside of the UK, not just in these countries here, which is Europe and the US, but we do a lot of work in China and Japan, and in Asia. The Made in Britain brand, the Made in Britain logo has tremendous power to attract consumers. And in China, you know, that they demand, if you're talking about premium goods, they almost demand that it is a foreign-made product, a Western imported product. So fashion is driving the trade surplus in e-commerce already in the UK, and we can see that other categories do come into it, but it's really fashion which is driving that. So I just wanted to make that point, that fashion is already very strong, but we can make it stronger, and we do want to make it stronger. So this is, is it this final slide? Yes, the final slide in this Google research, which I wanted to share with you. And really, so this is coming not from myself and not from our team, but this is coming from Google and OC&C, who are some strategy consultants who Google shared all of their search data with and other primary research with. And it was their recommendation that marketplaces provide the opportunity to test new markets. If you already sell in the UK, perhaps Europe, and you do some research and think that there might be demand for your product in China or in Africa or South America, even just to go out and visit these countries is very expensive, lots of time, lots of resource. But if you do use e-marketplaces, it's a brilliant way to test whether there's demand for your product, and to do it using the incredible infrastructure of companies like Amazon, who have all the fulfillment and all the customer service and are able to do all the translation. It's not just Amazon who can do that. There's lots of different marketplaces in every country who can do that. And not only can you kind of utilize their existing back-end infrastructure, you're utilizing their front-end marketing and all the traffic that they get. You know, look at how much monthly traffic there is, 133 million hits, unique hits a month. You know, that's an incredible volume of traffic. Obviously, it's going to be spread across the full remit of products and services, but in terms of traffic coming in, that's a huge amount. And then as well, the final thing I wanted to say in terms of marketplaces is that it's a variable cost. You're only paying as you're selling. There's very limited costs to actually get established and start selling on these marketplaces. And often it will just be a case of sharing your existing product category, whatever SKUs you want to start selling. The startup costs are fairly limited, and then once you start selling, then you're paying the commissions. But you know, in terms of incremental revenue and incremental sales that you're making, it's all there because there's very little startup costs. Okay, so that was just a bit of research I wanted to share with you. I'm going to go on now to a bit more about our actual e-commerce opportunities and the different marketplaces that we've done agreements with, specifically in the fashion sector. And so our intent here is to do more and more agreements with these e-marketplaces, negotiating beneficial terms, better than market rates, better rates than they will normally advertise. Having a kind of sector-led focus, and basically having a kind of constantly available. So whatever opportunity, whatever country or region you want to go into, at whatever time is right for you, we want to have that opportunity there so you can draw on it and draw upon the expertise of our different digital advisors to really help you do that. So it's not a kind of, you know, closing down sale, you've got 1 week to sign up. It's our intent to keep widening the number of opportunities we've got available, and then when the timing's right, we can help companies access those opportunities. And what we really do in terms of that's, I think, of value to companies is we do the business case, and we do a lot of the painful research and planning. We find out about the customs, we find out about sales tax, we find out about you know, what the kind of traffic these different marketplaces have, who are the adjacent brands on there, who would it make sense for people to go on to. We do a lot of research in terms of the third-party providers you might need, who can do your logistics, who can do your translation. A lot of the times it's the marketplace themselves. The marketplaces offer you know, a kind of a big spectrum of, you know, a lot of them, and a lot of the ones we deal with, and a lot of the ones that companies are interested in speaking to, offer the full remit of services. So they will take your your product listing in English, and they will translate it. They will do your returns. They will deal with your customer inquiries in the native language. They will, if you want, they can hold your stock in country to then just fulfill, pick and pack once they get the orders in. Or quite often, a lot of them are setting up UK logistic hubs. So you don't even need to export it to China or South America. You just send it to their warehouse in the UK, and then all the way from there, they can deliver the final mile to the customer in China or Japan or wherever. So we do a lot of the legwork, and we do a lot of, as much as we can, to negotiate good rates for UK exporters. And then really, we just kind of tee that up. And if companies are interested, then they can take it forward. So this is the first marketplace I was just going to talk through today. This is probably our, this was our first kind of big marketplace. So Mercado Libre, for those of you who haven't heard of them, they are one of the top 10 biggest marketplaces in the world. They're partly owned by eBay, and they are one of the most significant players in the world in terms of e-commerce. What they really are brilliant at is they cover the South American continent, as well as Mexico and Portugal and Spanish-speaking America as well. So they cover a huge area, and they cover a part of the world which, although it's further behind us in terms of e-commerce and the amount of people who do shop online, it is a country and a region which is growing very fast. And you can see some of the numbers there in terms of Mercado Libre, 100 million registered users. You know, it started off as a C2C, so more of an eBay platform, but now it's grown to B2C. And you know, huge companies like Walmart or like Levi's or Adidas have brand sites within Mercado Libre. So Mercado Libre hosts the environment, and then brand sites spend a lot of money making their own kind of store within a store. The financials are huge. And in terms of what they do, so as I was mentioning earlier, Mercado Libre really are one of those full-service marketplaces where they take care of a huge amount and leave you really just to make the product and get it to a UK warehouse. So they're setting up a UK warehouse operation. That's going to go live in March. We've already got a short list of about 75 UK companies, big brands from the UK, who are waiting, effectively just waiting for them to sort out their UK warehouse. So some really good fashion brands, but there's some bigger, kind of George from Asda, some bigger high street brands, New Look, Superdry. These are other companies that are already kind of on the shortlist from Mercado Libre, as well as more smaller fashion companies. So they deliver to the customer, which sounds easy in the UK, but in South America it's not, because of the postal service they got and the whole address systems. Actually getting it to the customer is something which is very difficult. Sales tax is different in each country, so that's something which Mercado Libre takes care of and reflects in the different prices, and pays that sales tax. Not only will they translate your products from English, but they'll translate it to Spanish and Portuguese, and also the different Spanish and Portuguese between, say, Brazil and Portugal. You know, there's a slight difference there, so they do take advantage of that, or take that into account. Customer service and returns are very low in Latin America, but they deal with all those. So you're not getting product coming back to the UK. They will hold it in that area and look to resell it. And as I said, they're setting up a UK hub, which should be live from March. And that short list of 80 companies will start loading on, and will start, the listings will appear in Mercado Libre, and they'll start selling. Now, the great thing that we've been able to do is we got Mercado Libre over to London late last year. We did a big ceremony then with them in the Houses of Parliament, and we signed a commission-free period. So the commission rate is where marketplaces make their money. Depending on what category you sell in, it will be anywhere from kind of 8-12%, something like that. And that's where they make their money. But they are willing to go for 6 months commission-free for UK companies who are introduced to them by UKTI, which is a fantastic you know, it just adds to that business case in that the costs of getting on are very low, and potentially the sales you make are all incremental, and you're accessing a brand new huge continent very simply and quite cheaply. So all the UK company has to do is basically get it to the UK hub. So quite straightforward, just like selling in the UK. Shoe.com. The ladies from Shoe are here today. I'm seeing them again this afternoon, and so this is a very, very good fashion company in China. So they're based in Shenzhen, which is just north of Hong Kong, and they are very established in the fashion world, and that lots of established fashion companies like Ferragamo, Shoe are their sole Chinese e-commerce partner, if you like. So many of the other e-marketplaces in China, you know, don't offer the same kind of level of service and the level that these high fashion companies expect. But Shoe have kind of carved out that market niche and have a very strong following in terms of the customers that come to their website, but also in terms of Italian and London fashion brands work with them quite closely. So we are working on a 3-month trial offer similar to the Mercado one. Again, basically, companies need to avail their SKUs, what they want to sell or what they want to try and sell to Shoe. They will then get it up on their website, translate it, take care of all the customer returns and the customer service piece of it, and then they do a 3-month plan where they basically see if it works, see if there's demand, and if there is at the end of that 3 months, then they will take a call to do the API integration to surface your stock real time on their system and take it on a more business as usual footing. But for 3 months, they effectively let you sell into China at very little cost. So this is a great one. We're just kind of signing that, if you like, today or tomorrow. So, but this will be live if you're interested, which is great. MarkaVIP, another very strong fashion marketplace covering the Gulf, has grown to cover 8 countries, but they're looking to cover another 4, I think, kind of North Africa in the next year or two. Already at 5 million members, and it's a very affluent demographic who shop with MarkaVIP and order large amounts of fashion goods in that area. They're actively seeking UK brands. They want UK brands. Marketplaces, you know, live or die on what brands they've got and what products they can offer, and so they're always looking for good brands. We've been able to take them a number of brands so far, but they're still looking for more. Typically, really, brand owners with the manufacturing, and you know so they want the manufacturer to retail. That's what they're particularly looking for, less so on wholesalers or distributors. They spend a lot of money getting companies set up and doing the API integration, doing the back-end integration, but what we've been able to negotiate with them is that the setup costs will be waived. So that is potentially a huge saving, and again allows you to start selling into the Gulf, trying to access all of these very affluent customers in this area who do have a real demand for British-made luxury goods, fashion goods in particular. So again, another great opportunity to access that part of the world with your product. LASO, so the Japanese market, obviously a very sophisticated fashion market. This was, again, one of our first marketplaces that we worked with, and we actually did a trade mission out to Tokyo where we took nearly 100 British companies out to Tokyo to get them selling into the local market through physical retail stores, but also through LASO, which is, again, more of a niche fashion website. So you've got Rakuten and Amazon Japan and Yahoo. They're the 3 big marketplaces in Japan. LASO is still a very big marketplace, you know, 1.5 million hits a month, but it's very much in that fashion sector. It's mainly 20 to 30-year-old ladies but also men's as well. And so a lot of high-end fashion brands already on there. And as part of the trade mission, we took 42 UK companies and got them to list on LASO beforehand. So when they were actually out in market physically, they were testing the demand for their product. And we did, you know, we had mixed results, but we had some brands were very successful and have started selling and have kind of, if you like, got that foothold in the Japanese market in a way which is very cost effective and which they can then scale to their and convince the stakeholders within their business that there is demand there and that they can you know, they can talk about the costs and the benefits with a lot more confidence because they do have some results from Japan and they've made those results for very little upfront cost. LASO again is another one where you don't even need to send it to Japan as the British company. You send it to their warehouse, which is in Harrow, I think, in North London, and then they fulfill to the Japanese customer from there. So very straightforward for a UK company to achieve that. And actually, something I've forgotten there. LASO and Amazon Japan. It can be quite difficult to access the Japanese market because you do need to set up a legal entity or have a designated importer of your goods. So there's some kind of things you've got to work through. But with Amazon Japan and LASO, they actually take care of that for you, and they're the only marketplaces who do that. And so, again, makes it another compelling reason why you would want to use one of those marketplaces. Those are the kind of four: Mercado Libre, Shoe, Marka, and LASO. Any questions on that? I'm kind of racing through it. Just stop me, shout out. So what you've got there is South America, the Gulf, China, and Japan. You know, four huge market areas where it's a way, the marketplaces are a way to test the market at low cost, at variable cost, so that if things go well, you know, that's brilliant. You just don't have the big fixed costs, which are difficult for businesses to make that decision early on with no guaranteed results. So the pipeline, so I just talked about four there. Those are the four which are most relevant to the fashion world, which is why I pulled them out. There are some others which are already live, but these are the people who we're talking to and are very close to having agreements with. Well, actually, Shangpin, we do already have an agreement with them. So they did a big deal with Topshop at the end of last year. Topshop used Shangpin as a way to get into China with a big splash and an existing fashion company. Harper's Bazaar have a you know, an almost cult-like following in China where they have their various magazine titles and online channels, and then they drive that content direct into what sales they then make with huge success. And so we're talking to them and hoping to have something for kind of March, April. Ricardo, obviously Switzerland being not within the EU, there's different rules to getting goods into Switzerland, which makes it a bit more tricky than just sending it to France or Italy. But Ricardo are the biggest platform in Switzerland, and they have kind of set up a way for UK companies to access the Swiss market, again, with very little. They take care of a lot of the headache and the hassle of getting it into the Swiss market, which is obviously a very affluent market. And so that's one which, again, is very close. Rocket and Naspers Group, they are both huge investors of marketplaces. So Naspers, in particular, kind of dominates all of East Europe and all of South America, and not South America, rather, South Africa, and a lot of Central Africa. But you would have never heard of the Naspers Group. Well, you might have done. But you would definitely know about their e-marketplaces in those respective countries because they are very dominant there. And we're quite advanced with talks to them in Poland, Nigeria, South Africa. Markets which perhaps wouldn't spring to mind, but still very large markets which are growing very quickly, and actually ones that with these marketplaces, you can just open up new sales channels and kind of see if it works at low cost. Rakuten, as I said, they're the biggest marketplace in Japan. They're established in Europe, and they're actually getting into the UK now. Rakuten are one of the kind of top 5 marketplaces in the world with a real global push, and they are working very hard so that, a bit like Amazon are actually, so that if you set up in one country, they want to automatically make your product available across the whole world, across Rakuten in the whole world. So they want to be able to set you up as a UK merchant, a UK seller, and then people searching Rakuten in Europe can find your product, Japan can find your product, US can find your product. So Rakuten, Amazon, and eBay, and Mercado Libre really, are there's about 5 or 6 marketplaces, groups which are really are in an arms race to really be the first global person. So you can set up in one country, but surface your product in the whole world. And there's a real push to do that. And Rakuten are doing that, making a real push for that. And then in India, the Tata Group, which I'm sure you would have heard of, are moving into making an e-commerce platform. And we're working very closely with them because they want UK brands, they want UK merchants. There's a demand. There's obviously a lot of historical links with India. So we're working with them to find UK fashion companies, fashion brands who want to start selling in India. And Flipkart, so excuse there's a spelling mistake there. Flipkart, that should say, again, they're a more dominant existing player in the fashion world.
For UKTI? Yeah.
So there's a big pipeline. We'd love it if you guys kind of got involved with the program, and you know, then you could see these marketplaces as they come online. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it's a case of what's right for you at the right time. Then you can kind of access that opportunity, get some advice from some of our digital advisors, and hopefully, you know, put your product out there. And it's a way to test the market, get into a market, and build that business case of growing internationally and exporting online. These are the kind of ways to get in touch. Please grab me afterwards. I'd love to get your business card, or we'll swap cards. But there's various different ways. Our gov.uk e-exporting is our main website. We're trying to get more content in there. Being a government website, it's not the most responsive, but gov.uk is our kind of export page, and that's the email address into the team. Or you've got the various Twitter handles, etc. And we've got some content on YouTube just from other companies who've had success, or other marketplaces kind of talking about those opportunities. So lots of ways to get in touch.